Have you ever wanted to play a game about beating the shit out of lunatic conspiracy theorists so you could blow off some of that doom-scrolling steam? Me too. I wish somebody had made that game. Hi, I'm Ben Curtin. 2021 has already been a roller coaster of a year, and by the time I'm writing this script, it hasn't even been a full month. But I'm hopping back on that game-making grind by interrupting a slightly longer-term project with a game jam that has an even shorter time limit than any of my previous jams. Basically, there's this annual event called Global Game Jam, where communities all over the world gather to make games at the exact same time. Normally this is an in-person thing, but the coronavirus didn't go extinct when the first day of the new year hit. Pig Squad participates in this jam every year, repping that Portland style and exerting big hipster energy, which is good. And instead of a 2-day ritual of blood, sweat, and animated tears, it's a 4-day online event. 4 days. This is the shortest jam I've been in so far, so I need to jump right into it. This year's theme is Lost and Found. I'll be honest, I wasn't into the theme at first. It sounded like the theme that gets picked at every other jam, but then again, my brain was fried from programming when the theme was revealed, so that might have been my mood talking. But after rounding up my team and hashing out ideas with them, we came to the idea of a puzzle-style game where you play as a disgraced journalist regaining their glory by fixing fake news and wrong articles. Oh yeah, my team this time is comprised of not 1, not 2, but 6 other people. Holy shit! This is Cole and Tegan, as you might remember from Brain Rot. Cole will be voicing the character who is your boss, and Tegan is back on that art shit. This is Fwang and Isai, another 2 friends who will be voicing the male and female voices of the main protagonists respectively, and these 2 are Ezra and Chris. Ezra created his own music cipher plugin for music software, which is some of the coolest shit ever, and Chris is helping him with it. Both are the music and sound of this game. Let's get started. The moment Wednesday at 7 p.m. hit, I started up a Godot project and started implementing a basic event management system. To explain it as simply as possible, Godot hides the frame timer, physics timer, and other low-level events so that you don't mess up something with the game loop. This is fine for beginners and whatnot, but it's a pain in the ass for people who want to control exactly when something happens in-game so that when it blows up in their faces, they know exactly where to fix it. If you drink coffee, think of it like this, and if you don't, that's not my problem. Would you make 27 different shots of the same coffee and drink them individually, or would you put all the beans into the grinder and make one big pot of bean juice? Probably the pot, right? Both are the same amount of the same drink, but one just makes more sense to do than the other. Think of the code as the beans of this game coffee or something. I replaced the original scene tree with a custom scene tree system of coroutines and function states and other jargon, and with a little bit of fucking around and finding out, I have a transparent game loop. On Thursday, I threw out everything that I just mentioned because it didn't work. So I had to rewrite the entire concept from scratch with some modifications, and honestly the code doesn't look too bad anyways. Still readable, and I still know exactly what the program is doing and when. Also, I spent like 5 hours doing this, and then another hour prototyping the actual game room, and then getting the goddamn text box in place, so needless to say, I didn't exactly get much done today. Here are some screenshots that pretty much sum up everything I did. What did I do on this day? Probably drop a bunch of graphics while procrastinating and do the very easy game logic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. Hey, fun fact, this one is unused. Here, I'll make up for the lack of content by putting all of my peers' work into one section for like a second, maybe 2. Warning, it's gonna be loud. How have I not implemented the game logic yet? Anyways, the majority of my day was getting the voice actors' lines. They all did very well.
Now that's an article you can shake a Slim Jim at.
That was okay, I guess.
Welcome to your first day of work at the crowd.
After 3 hours of doing that and then a bunch of distractions later, I finally ended up coding the logic in nearly one whole programming session. And it works! Not exactly 100% perfect, but hey, I can finish up the details tomorrow as I do a mad dash to the finish line. I'm more worried about my hands and brain becoming jelly before that happens, so let's take a deep breath and prepare for the last day. Today was a roller coaster of a day, frantically adding the rest of the game logic, the art, the music, and the voices all in about 8 hours with no rest in between. I couldn't do any beta testing, and I was cutting it close to the submission deadline since I had to wait for the music to come in. I mean, no disrespect, Ezra and Chris, I wish I could have let you guys finish the tracks fully. Anyways, at around 9 p.m. on Sunday, I submitted a complete game. Okay, well, complete is a relative term. Da-ba-dee-doo-ba. It's time to learn from my mistakes, and boy oh boy, there's enough of them to fill a textbook. Lesson number 1. 4 days is not a lot of time. Lesson number 2, I really need to spend more time perfecting the gameplay at the start of making the game. At the time of writing, I haven't really playtested my own game, but I have a funny feeling that it is not that fun to play. I really shouldn't have left that part for the last day of jam. Which brings me to lesson number 3, subjective game mechanics are not that great in practice. Or maybe I'm not doing it right, which is, the more likely scenario, but also I don't think that it's fair for a player to answer a subjective question with an answer they think is right, and then have the system tell them that it's wrong based on an arbitrary number. Making good news articles is too vague to flesh out as a good idea without some sacrifices, and I'm pretty sure I did too many of those. With that in mind, even though I just explained all of the flaws of the game, I still want to give a huge shout out to the rest of the team for helping me make this game. First of all, Cole and Tegan for their continued services, second of all, Fwong and Isai for coming in as VAs, and third of all, Ezra and Chris, who are part of a goddamn whole-ass company. I mean, how do I keep getting so lucky with musicians for their compositions and making some banger tunes, and like City Fires, who are completely overqualified for the job? It would be awesome if you checked out the game, because even though it's not my best game, it certainly is my best game that I've made in 4 days. Be sure to check out the company that Ezra and Chris work for. It's called Music Cypher. I'll put their website in the description. It's all about generating melodies using only words, and it is super cool. Anyways, that's about it. Have a wonderful day.